Ed Coleman at the International Broadcast Center, and the gold medal game in hockey is the final medal event here for the 17th Winter Olympics. Will Sweden snap their gold medal drought? Well, 20 more minutes, we'll know. Gary Cohen and Mike Woodley will have it all for you from the ring. Guys?
Okay, Ed. The officials are back on. Sweden making their way out. While they do, let's pause 10 seconds for stations to identify themselves on the CBS Radio Network.
This is Ron Barr, host of Sports Byline USA. When I'm looking for news, talk, or sports, there's only one place to tune in Atlanta. That's WGUN 1010 News Talk Radio in Atlanta.
From Hoken's Hall in Lillehammer, 1-0. Sweden leads. 1 period remaining in regulation time. Sweden back on Canada in a moment. And while we have a moment, our hockey crew would like to acknowledge the efforts of the CBS Radio Sports reporters and staff working together these past 16 days here in Norway. At the venues, Mark Champion, Tommy Teig, Ann Liguori, and Dave Ennett. And at the International Broadcast Center, our anchors, John Rooney and Jim Hunter, producers Ed Coleman, David Kerman, Howard Deneroff, Steve Goldstein, and Phyllis McQuillan, our Olympic manager, Donna Zelazny, technical supervisors, Rod Olson and Andy Ballin, and the executive producer of CBS Radio Sports, Frank Murphy. Thanks, guys. It's been just great.
We're all headed home tomorrow with a bag full of dirty laundry and hopefully a lot of souvenirs here from the Olympic Games.
I'll tell you what, everywhere where Olympic people are going home, they better get set for a big surge in water use because the washing machines are going to be at the ready. I don't think anybody's done their laundry here.
Speak for yourself.
You just have to bring it up close.
You can only turn certain items inside out so many times.
Third period about set to start. Sweden will skate from right to left. Tommy Salo in the goal to our right. Canada from left to right. Corey Hirsch, who's been splendid in the goal to our left, and off the draw, it's won by Canada. Harlock back at his own line, sends it across to Mayer. Now left side it goes for Joseph, and back the other way for Harlock. Harlock gives to Mayer, goes past his stick. He bangs it off the boards to center, and back in his own zone, Kenny Janssen has it for Sweden. Across to Thomas Janssen, sends it out to center ice. Harlock has it there, carries into the zone, takes the drive, it goes wide. Hart puts it in front, but it's intercepted there by Forsberg, who does a nice job back-checking and gives it away to Thomas Janssen. Janssen has it behind his own net. Half a minute gone by, third period, and Sweden leading 1-0 in search of their first ever hockey gold medal. Janssen still holding the puck, gives it to Svensson, and he starts out to center ice to Hansen, now to Svensson, carrying across the line with a drive and a save made with a stick by Hirsch. Rolls to the far side, Svensson on it there, sends to the side of the net, but back to get it is Fabian Joseph for Team Canada. As Joseph accelerates out to center, he comes to the Swedish line and he dumps one in right side of Salo as Canada makes a change, and back the other way comes Rudmark. Rudmark leaves behind him for Roger Johansson. Johansson puts it up on right wing, but it's across 2 lines, and so play is called with 1:07 gone by third period, and Sweden leading 1-0.
Keep in mind that this game will not end in a tie. We'll go on to a 10-minute sudden death overtime, and if there is not a winner decided in that time, they'll go to the shootout process, one of the most exciting events in hockey. Team Canada was involved in a shootout 2 years ago in a medal round game with Germany, and they advanced that way, so at least a few members of this Canadian team have been through that experience.
There has never been a gold medal game decided by a shootout.
Are you ready for one?
That would be unbelievable. Face-off in the Swedish zone. Magnus Svensson sends it across to Roger Johansson. Now Johansson will take it behind his own net. Kontos into forecheck, knocks it away, but Johansson has it back and gives to Svensson. Now a lead pass out of the zone to Rudmark, carries across the red line. The Canadian line winds up and fires on a pad save made by Hirsch. Back comes Johnson the other way, 2-on-2. Greg Johnson down left wing into the Swedish zone. Feeds to the middle of his pass, Kontos, and rolls to the near side. And back comes Naslund, 3-on-3. Naslund across the red line. Now to the Canadian line, veering wide right, goes around one man into the circle, carries deep, puts in front for a shot and a save made by Hirsch. Off the shot in front by Rudmark, and back comes Parks to center for Canada. Lead pass to the Swedish line, knocked down by Stillman, and it's an offside call against Canada with 1:48 gone by, and opportunities for Sweden again early on in the third, and again it's Corey Hirsch coming up big.
And Mats Naslund making it happen for Sweden. This guy hasn't lost a whole lot, if anything. Still 34 years old, had his 9 years in Montreal, winning the Lady Byng as the least penalized player one of those years. He was with the Swedish team in 1980 in the Olympics and Lake Placid, so he's certainly been around the block and still showing a lot of skill.
Face-off just outside the Swedish line. Lud dumps it out to center ice. Astley has it there, and he sends it right back in. Salo stops it behind the net for Stillman, and he'll start it up for Sweden. Leaves it for Ernstad. Ernstad drop pass to Stillman. Sends it out to center off the stick of Hansen. He controls, dumps to the the Canadian line, goes around Astley, carries it deep behind the net. Hansen out the near side now. Hansen still trying to get away from Astley, turns away from him, tries to send deeper. Nedved comes over to help. Hansen now kicking at the puck, still trying to control it along the near side. Over comes Lube to help out. They push and shove along the boards, and finally it's worked free and knocked out of the zone by Schreiber. Comes to Schlegel. Schlegel to the Swedish line, pokes off his stick, and it's offside against Canada. Again at the Swedish line with 2:29 gone by third period, and Sweden leading 1-0. And I would imagine, Mike, as this game gets deeper and deeper, Sweden just plays more and more of that defensive shell style.
And Corey Hirsch will have to continue to do what he has done thus far. And already 23 saves for the young man. And on the other side of the ice, Tommy Salo not seeing nearly the action. So Canada is going to have to try and get something going, because Sweden will keep this defensive shell intact, sending just one man deep and then covering everybody else away from the puck.
Off the draw, Thomas Jansson has it back in his own zone for Sweden. He'll take it behind his own net and leave for Jürgen Jansson. All three Janssons on ice right now. Jürgen Jansson comes to the red line, across the Canadian line, trying to split the defense, but it's broken up by Mayer, and back comes Canada. Lead pass Korea across the line, down right wing into the circle, tries to go in the backhand, but he's smothered into the boards by Kenny Johnsson. Rolls to the far side, Savage has it there. Then deeper for Norris. Now Savage has it back at the far side, moves into the circle, winds and fires. It's deflected up over the glass and out of play. With 16:59 remaining in the third period, and Sweden leading 1-0. Wayne Norris. Norris, famous for being the first Canadian Olympian since 1924 to hail from the province of Newfoundland.
Yeah, they call it the Rock up there, way separated from much of the other parts of Canada, kind of its own little country at times. And not many have come from there. He's a pretty good one.
And he is a hero back in his native St. John's, Newfoundland. Off the draw in Swedish ice, Forsberg sends it ahead to Hansen. It pops off his stick and comes out of the zone. Harlock back to play at center for Canada. Across to Mayer, lead pass on right wing for Halushko, too far. Back comes Hansen to play, and he's run into the boards by Halushko. They both go down. Then in front for an attempt by Joseph, but it skitters wide. Now it comes to the near side, and Hansen is able to play it out to center ice. Parks trying to get his stick on it there at the near boards. Forsberg comes over as well. Kicks free into the Canadian zone. Hansen has it. Looks to go deep on Halushko. Now Hansen running to the boards by Halushko. It rolls to the near side. Forsberg bumps with Mayer. Now it comes out to the point to Svensson. Svensson down the boards. Forsberg tries to make the return feed. It's broken up by Kontos. He's knocked down by Svensson. And Mayer comes back to clean up for Canada. Now Derek Mayer starting out from behind his own net. Lead pass at center. Too far for Halushko. Forsberg has it back. Gives on his right to Bergqvist. Carries it into the zone. As it poked off his stick by Harlock. Bergqvist trying to get back to it. Falls on top of the puck at the far side. Harlock trying to work it free. Rudmark, though, does. He sends it ahead, but Mayer is there. Rudmark is knocked down by Harlock. No penalty called. The puck is shot the length of the ice. It's an icing call against Canada, and we get some pushing and shoving after the whistle. Hard feelings there as Harlock and Rudmark came together, and Rudmark hit the ice hard, and he is now flexing his right knee. This broadcast is presented by authority of the International Olympic Committee and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of the International Olympic Committee.
4:12 into the third period here. Canada and Sweden for the gold medal. Both countries longing for gold. It's been so long for Canada, 42 years. It's never happened for Sweden. Sweden with the early lead. Thomas Jansson, former Islander, former Olympian in 1980 for Sweden, trying to get it done again 14 years later.
Face off to the left of Corey Hirsch. It's won by Canada. Lundson, though, in the corner, running to the boards by Ernstskog. Rudmark comes over to work it free, and now it comes onto the stick of Greg Johnson. Johnson to Kontos, back to Johnson at center ice, looking to step into the Swedish zone, but Leif Rolin pokes it off his stick, and Stillman has it back for Sweden. Stillman circling in his own zone, sends up ahead for Rolin, and now Rudmark carries it out. On his left for Naslund. Naslund across the line. Naslund cuts to the middle. Drop feed through Julin for a shot that goes wide. Rolls to the far side. Naslund having his stick held. Can't get it out. Kontos sends it all the way down the ice. Back comes Stillman to get it in the Swedish zone with 15:10 remaining in the third period, and Sweden still with a 1-0 lead. Now here comes Rudmark to center. Rudmark stick handling across the line, takes the shot, stick save made by Hirsch, rolls to the corner. Rudmark sends it around the boards far side. You lean to the point. Janssen for a drive deflected by the sliding block of Chris Kontos, and it goes up over the glass out of play. With 5:06 gone by third period, still 1-0 Sweden.
Brian Savage is playing for a special young man back in Sudbury, a 14-year-old by the name of Andrew Olivier, who had a tragic accident as a hockey player, broke some vertebrae in his neck, and they've been in contact with the team. Team Canada learned that he's now talking again. He's able to watch TV and say nasty things about the ref, I guess. That's what they're saying. He's back, and it's been a great story, and they're rooting for him back in Sudbury.
Extra inspiration for a team that probably doesn't need any extra. Schlegel back in his own zone for Canada, turning behind his own goal line. Schlegel starts out. Schlegel puts on his left for Astley, back the other way to Schlegel, sends it ahead off the near boards to Roy, who steers it into the Swedish zone. Janssen back to get it. Eddie Janssen back in his own goal line, starts out slowly, now feeds it across to Thomas Janssen, and Janssen will set it up behind his own net. Thomas Janssen wearing the captain's C tonight, replacing Charles Bergelick, who's out with a separated shoulder. Janssen across to Kenny Janssen, still in no hurry in his own zone. Circles out to center, left wing feed, too far for Hansen. It goes all the way down. An icing call against Sweden. And so they'll face it off in the Swedish zone with 14-12 remaining in the third period. And at what point, Mike, does Canada start to say, okay, now we've got to play a little bit more aggressively and maybe start sending extra people in to try and get this equalized?
Well, they certainly have the time right now. We're just 5:48 into the third period, and Canada's only down by 1. What Canada's hoping for now is a bad play, maybe a fanned pass or a miscue in the Swedish zone. They can capitalize and even the game, because then it's a different game altogether.
Off the draw, comes out to the point, pass for Renka, and back out to center ice. Renka sends it up ahead to Norris on right wing. Norris run into the boards. Dackell works it free, and it comes back into the Swedish zone where Dackell plays it on the back line to Magnus Svensson. 14 minutes to go, third period, 1-0 Sweden. Jürgen Janssen starts out, gives it to Svensson, stick handles out of the zone. Right wing feed to Janssen and across the line into the circle, off to the middle to Dackell, but he has it broken up and back comes Canada. Mayer skating to the Savage across the Swedish line. He's taken out of the play, and back comes Sweden's Jürgen Janssen. Janssen comes to the red line, he's to the Canadian line, stick handles, tries to move into the slot. His shovel pass goes wide of the net, but Corey Hirsch comes out to stop it and hangs on for a faceoff with 13 and a half minutes to go.
The problem with Tom Rennie, the Canadian coach, beginning to gamble this soon is that Sweden is the faster team. So if you start taking too many risks, trying to push too many men in the Swedish zone, you could get burned very easily. And right now they are in the game. If they get down by 2 goals or 3 goals, it'll be very tough for them to get back with this Swedish defensive shell.
Greg Parks against Peter Forsberg on the draw, won by Forsberg, back to Stillman at the left point, puts it in front, knocked down at the defense by Mayer and cleared out of the zone. Back comes Leif Rolin to play it, bangs it off the boards, intercepted by Parks, takes it across the line, but Joseph had not yet cleared the zone, and so the Canadians are offside with 13-18 remaining in the hockey game.
Really quite an accomplishment by this Canadian team just to be in this game. Tom Rennie, their coach, certainly out of the tradition, not like a Dave King and Tikhonov or even a Tim Taylor with extensive international experience. He was just an average college hockey player at North Dakota. Said he was the stopper there because he stopped the defenseman from bumping into the forwards on the bench.
Alushko steers it into the Swedish end. Stillman comes back to play, lifts it out, but not out of the zone, knocked down with a glove by Alushko. Rolin takes it out of the zone, though, and Sweden has control of the puck. Hansen sends it to the back line, played there by Leif Rolin, who carries it behind his own net. Now Rolin gives it to Forsberg, who starts out. Forsberg across the red line, he's to the Canadian line. Forsberg has it poked off his stick by Parks, and back comes Parlock to get it for Canada. Parlock sends it out the far side. Alushko, stick handling out of the zone. Now Joseph skims one in, right side of Salo. Canada makes the change, and is wound around the near side. Bergquist looking to start out. Bergquist comes to center, runs in the boards, and he gets to the Canadian line. Joseph comes back to play the puck. Joseph trying to steer it up the boards, but
And Johnson has got 3 great opportunities. This one probably the least productive of the 3 as he took the shot from outside the faceoff circle, but still what they're hoping for is a good shot on goal, maybe a rebound, then crash the net and somehow tuck it past Tommy Salo. Thus far, Salo has been able to do the job in goal with 15 saves already against the Canadians.
Face off to the right of Salo with 11:35 to go, third period, and Sweden still with a 1-0 lead. A first period power play goal by Thomas Janssen. Rudmark taking a draw for Sweden against Greg Johnson. They both get thrown out of the face-off circle. So Santos will step in for Canada. Johnson rejecting the call by the line coach. Václav Český of the Czech Republic and Jay Borman of the United States are our linesmen tonight. Rob Hearn of the U.S. is the referee. Loose in the face-off circle. Svensson goes back to play it. He backhands one out of the zone and out to center ice. Loveson back to play it, away to Warenka. Warenka lead pass across the line. Johnson puts on his right now for Korea. He bangs it off the end boards. It comes to the far side. Loveson pinches in. Loveson takes it deep. Trying to get away. Lube comes over. Loveson falls down, and back comes Team Sweden. Naslund up ahead to Lube. Lube across the line, carrying it to the circle for a drive. Save made by Hirsch. Rebound poked wide. Another save by Hirsch off the angle drive by Hook and Lube. Now Contos at center ice. Ahead to Johnson. Johnson trying to cut to the middle. Leaves for Contos. Puts in front. Score! Paul Correa was in front off a shot by Chris Contos. Looks like Correa tipped it home, and Canada has tied it 1-1.
If Correa didn't tip it, he caused the screen, which allowed the goal to go through. Paul Correa did all the work on that one. Contos took the shot from just out the outer reaches of the face-off circle. As Canada works the puck in the Swedish zone. Johnson with the drop pass to Contos. He let it go, a little wrist shot. Correa was in front. Can't really tell if it was tipped, but nonetheless, Correa made it happen with the screen, and Canada knocks this game at 1.
Oh boy, Paul Correa gets credit for the goal. It's his third of the tournament. It comes at 9:08 of the third period after Canada had struggled and survived. Corey Hirsch with save after save to keep them close. And now the Canadians have even matters at 1-1. Correa gets the goal. Johnson gets one assist, and I would assume that Contos will get the other because it's Contos who took the original shot. The goal comes at 9:08 of the third period. And now it's center ice. Kenny Janssen bangs it into the Canadian zone. First stops it behind the net for Mark Astley. Astley tees it up there, sends it out to the near side, and here comes Schlegel out to center ice. Schlegel pokes it ahead, goes off the stick of Roy. Back comes Sweden. Forsberg. Forsberg to the Canadian line. He is run off the play. Puck is loose along the near boards. Schreiber trying to get to it. He shovels it ahead. Across the line comes Nedved as he carries it deep. Nedved loses control, and Kenny Janssen has the puck for Sweden. Janssen leaves it behind the net for Thomas Janssen. Janssen holding behind the net. Thomas Janssen in no hurry. Now Sweden, having been tied in the game, must think a little bit more offensively. They've been playing a defensive game right from the start, especially after grabbing a 1-0 lead in the first. Now to Jürgen Janssen, steers it into the Canadian zone. Mayer comes back to play it in the corner. Correa back to help out, and Correa sends it behind the net to Harlock. David Harlock behind the Canadian net halfway through this third period. Here comes Mayer out of the zone. Mayer tries to steer it ahead. It's knocked back the other way by Lube. Now back at the Canadian line. Harlock sends ahead out of the zone, brought back in by Jürgen Janssen. It's an offside call with 9:39 remaining and a 1-1 hockey game. They have given the second assist to Contos, so it's Correa, his third of the tournament, and Johnson and Contos at 9:08. They get things even for Canada.
And already we're seeing Sweden alter their attack just a little bit. Previously they would dump the puck inside the blue line. This time they tried for the extra pass to Janssen. It didn't work out this time, but you're going to see that now. The game will change. Sweden will make the extra pass now in the offensive zone. It may open things up for Canada. We shall see.
It'll be Savage against Ernstog on the draw. Puck is loose at the Canadian line. Janssen tries to poke it in, and again it came out and back in, offside against Sweden, and they'll face it off again outside the Canadian line.
That's how programmed these Swedish players are. They've been playing together for so long. They know the style. Kurt Lundmark is the head coach. He was the assistant 2 years ago. They know when a game is tied, you play differently. They're programmed to play that way, and they're doing it now.
Now Svensson sends it ahead. Johansson steers it into the Canadian zone. Johansson running to the boards by Warenka. It's loose along the end board. Savage comes over. They're trying to work it free. Warenka and Johansson continue to kick at it. And finally Finally, Savage works it free. Now Brian Savage in his own zone. Left wing feed Correa across the line. One-on-one in with a shot and a save made by Salo. And he holds on. Paul Correa being double shifted right now in the absence of Todd Warner. Warner sitting it out with a knee injury for Canada. And so Correa playing both with his own line with Johnson and Contos and also skating there with Savage and Norris.
He has just such great vision, such great presence. He just knows how to be slippery and break away from the rest of the pack and get free. Paul Correa has a big NHL career waiting for him. I know the mighty Ducks of Anaheim are waiting his arrival, and I'm certain they'll be marketing that young man for quite a few years right around Disneyland.
It's such a great story. His dad was of Japanese-American extraction and was born in an internment camp during World War II. Correa going on to start at the University of Maine. Coming into the tournament, he and Peter Forsberg were looked at as the two young studs in this tournament. They're very different kinds of players. Correa, great passer, very offensive-minded. Forsberg, more of a two-way hockey player.
Well, we've seen from Forsberg thus far is that he has the skills, you can tell. He just seems to be lacking a bit of the confidence, the timing. He's just a young man. He's 20 years old and so highly projected as far as his talents are concerned. I think it'll take some time for Peter Forsberg. As for Paul Correa, he seems to be a little bit more ready to take that next step onto the pros in North America.
Face-off coming up for the right of Jürgen Janssen after some brief ice repairs. 9:11 to go, third period, tied 1-1. At the far corner, Yurlin tries to move it up the board. Stillman plays it behind the Swedish net, winds it around to the far side and back out to center ice where Schlegel will chase it back into the Canadian zone. Brad Schlegel out in front of his own net, now takes it behind the goal and sets things up. Here comes Canada moving from left to right. It's Parks leaving it back to Schlegel. Schlegel behind it to Axley, who just bangs it off the boards and into the Swedish zone, but Canada was ahead of the play and offside. And so they'll face it off outside the Swedish line with 8:44 to go, and as this thing moves down into the smaller numbers, the tension begins to build in this hall. It is getting very loud. I got a feeling that people are right at the edge of their seats and about to get awfully quiet and biting a lot of nails.
And the 10-minute overtime would have waited, of course, with sudden death. Each team would like to end that prior to that. Right now, Canada has the one goal, but Corey Hirsch has been the story. He has been outstanding in the Canadian net.
Face off at center ice, won by Forsberg. He's turning at the red line. Forsberg will bang one in on net, stick down by Hirsch. Leaves it at the side of the goal for Derek Mayer. Mayer carries behind his own net, leaves it there for Greg Johnson, and Johnson starts out. Back the other way to Mayer, carries it out of the zone. Tries to send it up ahead, too far for Joseph. It's round to the far side. Joseph says behind that, Johnson in front, Lushko or Contos for a drive save made. Rebound, Mayer scores! Derek Mayer on a shot from the top of the right face-off circle, and Canada takes a 2-1 lead.
Contos took the shot, it deflected off Salo when he made the save, and the rebound right there and buried home. And Canada now takes the lead. Wonderful timing and the inability of Salo to get his own rebound. And Derek Mayer just let it go a blast at the face-off circle. Right past Tommy Salo on the rebound.
It'll never appear in the box score, but it was Fabian Joseph who dug it out of the corner. Joseph with the hustle. He is not a very talented player, but he's the Canadian captain. He got it to Johnson behind the net. Johnson fed it to Contos for the shot. Mayer buried the rebound, and Canada leads for the first time in the hockey game with just 8:17 remaining.
Somehow that shot got through the traffic. There were 3 players from Sweden trying to get a piece of the block. There were even a few Canadian players trying to tip it. It just went clear through a bunch of knees and a bunch of shin pads and even a few breezers and made its way into the net behind Tommy Salo.
26-year-old Derek Mayer out of the University of Denver, his first goal of the tournament, and what a big one. It gives Canada a 2-1 lead coming at 11:43. Now Canada can afford a defensive style, and Wawrinka has it back in his own zone, bangs it out to center ice. Johansson has it for Sweden, off to Svensson, and more conviction on the part of Sweden as Svensson carries it into the zone. Tries to feed in the middle for Lou, but it's knocked down at the defense. And now Nedved able to send it ahead to Schreiber off his stick. It's poked away from him by Johansson, turning in his own zone. Leaves for Jürgen Janssen, pokes it to the line and out of the zone. Now back at center ice, it's Schlegel for Canada with 7:45 remaining, and Canada all of a sudden leading 2-1. Schreiber sends it into the Swedish zone. Janssen comes back to play it. Thomas Janssen will start it out the far side. Ahead to Lube, turning in his own blue line. Poking Lube comes to the red line. Right wing feed, too far for Janssen. Lube has to get it back at center and bang one into the Canadian zone. Schlegel sends ahead to Schreiber. Broken up there. Nedved comes back to his own blue line to play it for Canada. Now Nedved at the far side. Knocks it into the Swedish zone. Sallow stops his side of the net. Off to Kenny Janssen. Janssen leaves it behind him for Thomas Janssen with 7:10 to go. Janssen bangs it off the end boards. They play catch with it. Rudmark comes up to play it. Rudmark will carry it out of the zone. Rudmark to the red line, and he shoots one in left side of Hirsch. Goes to the corner. Mayer and Uline come together. Kept in by Kenny Janssen as he kicks it deep. Uline now spinning in the far corner with the puck. Patrick Uline leads along the far boards for Rudmark. Now to Naslin. Naslin up at the blue line. Naslin puts in front, sticks aside by Hirsch. As Naslin snaps one right in front of the net off the screen. Now Harlock winds to the far side, still in Canadian ice. Janssen pinches in to try and keep it, and he does so. Thomas Janssen pokes ahead. Rudmark gets a stick on it. It rolls to the far side. Uline loses his stick. Rudmark keeps in. Rudmark poking it along the boards, still keeping it in the zone. Rudmark sends it cross ice. Svensson will chase it there. Svensson has it poked away by Harlock, still in the zone. Now Svensson trying to keep it in. It rolls to the corner. Uline goes down along with Harlock. They both get up. The puck's still loose along the boards. Naslin and Johnson fighting for it. Uline comes over as well. Works it free to Rudmark. Rudmark moves into the circle. Rudmark goes in with a backhander. Blocked at the defense by Mayer. And flipped out of the zone and back to center ice with 6 minutes to go in the third period. Canada surviving. They have a 2-1 lead. Here comes Svensson. Svensson to center. Puts on his left to Johansson, who was ahead of the play and offside. And so they'll bring it outside the line for a face-off with 5:50 to go. A break in the action. This is coverage of the 1994 Winter Olympics from CBS Radio Sports.
The kids, the job, the house. My life's complicated enough without even worrying about tires. So I go to a place that makes it quick and simple. I go to Sears.
One more reason Sears is America's #1 tire store. Now through April 2nd, we've got BF Goodrich radials on sale. Performance radial TAs for cars and TAATs for light trucks, all on sale. And when it comes to price, we won't be undersold. See store for details.
Tires? Sears. It's that simple.
Sears Tire and Auto Center. We're driven to satisfy.
Off the face-off play at the Canadian line, Warenka sends it up ahead. It rolls back into the Swedish zone. It's an icing call against Canada, and they'll face it off near Corey Hirsch with just 5:42 remaining, and Canada with a 2-1 lead.
And Tom Rennie's game plan coming into this tournament has worked out so well for him. The late additions, then they open up with lesser teams like Italy and France, under the U.S., Slovakia, Sweden, and the Czechs. They've been able to come back in the past, which has helped them. They came back from a 1-goal deficit to beat the Czech Republic. They came back from a goal down to beat Finland, so they didn't lose it when they were down trailing Sweden here. Now they have the lead. And let's see if they can hang on.
Parks against Forsberg on the draw. Forsberg wins it, and Svensson dives to keep it in the zone. Johansson carries it deep. Johansson trying to go around Warenka, who knocks him down. It rolls loose in the near corner. Warenka gets up, tries to shovel it ahead. Svensson keeps in. His pass is knocked down to the line, but kept in. Hansen turns, drives. It's deflected wide by Lubson, who then dives and bangs it off the near board. Svensson trying to keep in, runs heavily into Halushko. It's sent in front by Hansen, gloved down by Hirsch, and play is called, and a Canadian player, Todd Halushko, lying down on his hands and knees at the near side. He collided heavily with Magnus Svensson along the near boards.
It's one of those things where you're looking around, looking for the birdies flying over your helmet. As Halushko is a little banged up, grabbing his head. He looks like he's going to be okay as he's taking a knee now in front of the trainer.
Canada playing a very aggressive defensive game now, diving after the puck, making sure that no shots need reach Corey Hirsch. Hirsch has been just a tower of strength for Canada, keeping them in this hockey game when Sweden had opportunity after opportunity, especially in the second period. And now on the goals by Korea and Mayer, Canada has a lead, and they can smell that first gold medal since 1952.
Already 31 saves by Corey Hirsch. Still quite a bit of time to go in this third period. He may need to make another 10 or 12 before it's over.
Face-off coming up to the right of Corey Hirsch. Off the draw, Savage wins it back to Harlock. Harlock winds it around to the far side past Janssen. It'll go all the way down. Icing waved off. Kenny Janssen will go back to play it for Sweden. Winds it around to the near side. Kept in by Savage. Savage sends it to the corner. Savage goes to get it. Takes it behind the net. Savage comes out the near side. Now Savage circling again in the end zone. Now out into the circle. Savage still circling along the near boards. As Korea along the boards. Korea gets to the puck. Shovels it ahead. Norris comes over to try and help out as they continue to dig for it. Kenny Janssen over there. Forsberg for Sweden. They still finally are able to get it loose, and Forsberg comes back. Forsberg to center, across the Canadian line down left wing, trying to go around Korea, can't do it. It rolls into the corner. Hansen comes over, and Korea works it free for Canada with 4.5 minutes to go. Now Korea out to the blue line, simply flips it ahead, knocked down by Svensson. save made by Hirsch, and Korea clears it out of the zone. Heavy drive that time, and Hirsch with the kick save. Now Hirsch stops it behind the net. Back to get it is Mayer. Now at the near side, it's Norris. Norris flips it out to center ice. Half Svensson. Johansson knocks it back the other way. It's loose at the red line. Sent into the Swedish zone. Stopped by Salo behind the net with under 4 minutes to go. Now Ernstad starts out the far side for Sweden. Ernstad comes over the blue line. Ernstad across the red line. Gives it to Lube. Lube stick handling into the slot with a shot deflected by Lubson at the defense. Rolls to the end boards. Janssen and Larenka come together. It's worked free by Schreiber. Schreiber feeds it up the boards. Svensson has it out over his stick and come out to center ice, chasing his Nedved into the Swedish zone. Nedved one-on-one with Janssen, stops along the boards, sends one to the end boards. It's deflected, bounces onto the stick of Ernstad with 3.5 minutes to go. Canada leading 2-1. Janssen, right wing feed across the line to Lube. Lube centering pass for Janssen, too far, and it rolls to the near boards. And back comes Canada. At center ice, it's Roy on his right to Schreiber. Schreiber puts in front off the stick of Roy. It rolls to the near side, and Sweden has the puck back with Kenny Janssen. Approaching 3 minutes to go in the third period, and Canada leading 2-1 in their bid for a gold medal. Janssen gives to Rudmark, goes around Korea, bangs it up ahead. Johnson knocks it down. Rudmark has it back, and he skims it into the Canadian zone. Bang right back out again, but Janssen keeps it in. Along the near boards, Uline and Naslund fighting for it. Then out to the point to Kenny Janssen. Across Thomas Janssen, shoots on a save made by Hirsch. Back the other way comes Korea. Across the Swedish line. Korea circle, takes it deep, takes it around the net, tries to wrap around, but he falls down. And Uline has it back with 2.5 minutes to go. Here comes Uline to center. Across the line, goes in with a drive. It's deflected wide. Now behind the net, Warenka has it knocked down by Uline. Uline looking to feed the point, gets it to Johansson, winds, and he shoots, and a save made by Hirsch. Rolls to the corner. Uline has it there. Down to the far side, it goes to Johansson. Behind the net, it goes to Naslund. Naslund running to the boards by Warenka, but he works it free. Naslund walks in front, can't get his shot away, and back comes Korea. We've got a penalty called against Canada. Max Naslund stepping out into the slot was dragged down from behind. It's a hooking penalty, and Sweden, trailing by a goal, will go on the power play with just 2:10 remaining in the game. Let's pause 10 seconds for stations to identify themselves on the CBS radio network.
Hi, this is Ron Barr, host of Sports Byline USA. When I'm looking for news, talk, or sports, there's only one place to tune in Atlanta. That's WGUN 1010 News Talk Radio in Atlanta.
Canada leading Sweden 2-1 as each team tries to get that elusive gold medal, but now the Canadians with that tenuous 1-goal lead must play shorthanded as Brad Warenka goes for a hook at 17:50.
Warenka did the right thing, though. Naslund was getting free. He worked his way free as we've seen him do in the National Hockey League when he was with Montreal. He's breaking himself free, turning around to take a clear shot on Hirsch, and Warenka pulled him down with the hook. Now let's see what happens the final 2 minutes and 10 seconds. The majority of it will be spent with Sweden with the man advantage. And not only that, there's no reason not to lift Tommy Salo late in that, so very likely for at least 30 or 40 seconds of this power play, it'll be a two-man advantage in effect for Sweden.
Forsberg centering for Lube and Bergqvist with Janssen and Svensson back at the point. Face off in the Canadian zone. Now Schreiber will take the face-off after Johnson gets tossed out by the linesman. Off the draw, Bergqvist feeds it back to the point, but it comes out of the zone, and Janssen chases it back at center. Off to Svensson, takes it across the line. Svensson looking to send deep, winds it around to the far side. Harlock can't get to it. Forsberg plays it there. Forsberg has it along the far boards. Out to the point to Janssen. Thomas Janssen with under 2 minutes to go. Feeds it off for Forsberg, takes it deep to Svensson for a drive. He scores! Magnus Svensson from the right point. It might have been tipped in, and Sweden with the power play goal has tied it with just a minute 49 to go in the game.
It was either tipped or hit a skate. After the shot by Magnus Svensson in the traffic right in front of Corey Hirsch. Corey Hirsch skates to the corner and tries to shake off his dejection. Swenson took a shot right after the dish back, right at the perimeter, went through the traffic. It's hard to tell from our angle if it hit anybody on the way through.
No, looks like it did not.
It might have hit Hirsch's own stick trying to make the save and deflected up into the net.
Bergqvist was standing in a pile in front of the net. He jumped in the air and the puck went right under his skates. So it will be Svensson who gets credit for the tally. His fourth goal in the tournament, and we are even with a minute 49 to go. Sweden had the early 1-0 lead. Canada rallied the lead here in the third. And now Sweden's second power play goal of the game is even matters with a minute center ice if we're tied at the end of this period. There'll be a 15-minute intermission followed by a 10-minute sudden death overtime. Off the draw, back at his own line, it's Ken Loveson for Canada. Loveson plays it across to Warenka and back to Loveson. Bangs it off the near boards out at center ice. Johansson has it there for Sweden. He shovels it ahead past Bergqvist. Loveson sends it back the other way into the Swedish zone with a minute and a half to go. Johansson back to play it, winds it around to the far side. Now Forsberg has it there up ahead to Hansen, but too far. And Loveson has it at center ice. He snaps one right back in. Salo stops it behind the net for Svensson with a minute 20 to go. Magnus Svensson holding it behind his own net. Leaves it for Bergqvist, and he starts out. Jonas Bergqvist comes to center. Stick handles around one man in across the line. Bergqvist takes it deep for a bad angle shot. A save made by Hirsch. It rolls to the far corner. Bergqvist fighting for it there. Sends it deeper. Hansen falls down, though. And Warenka able to play the puck to the near side with a minute to go in the third period. Tied at 2. Warenka, forecheck by Forsberg, who knocks it down in the corner. Over comes Joseph with Hansen. They battle for the puck. Forsberg and Warenka there as well. 50 seconds to go as they battle on the near boards. Worked free by Halushko. His breakout pass intercepted by Lube, who shoots it in on net. It's steered aside by Hirsch with 40 seconds to go in the third period. Now up at center ice, Nedved has it poked off his stick by Kenny Janssen, taken by Jürgen Janssen, who skates back behind his own net. 35 seconds to go. Janssen bangs it up to center ice past Lube, and Harlock has it back for Canada. Now Harlock on his right for Mayer. He skates it out to center. Mayer shoots one in right side of Salo with 23 seconds to go. Kanto speeds it to the corner. Back comes Ernström to play it, though. Kenny Janssen will look to start out with 15 seconds to go. Out it goes to Jürgen Janssen. Right wing feed past everybody. Rolls into the Canadian zone where Harlock picks it up. 10 seconds to go in the third, and we may have overtime. Here comes Mayer skating to center. They pass across the line. Nedved, but it's across 2 lines. And they'll bring it back for a face-off just inside the Canadian line with 4 seconds to go in the third period. One more face-off, and then perhaps overtime for the gold medal.
It would be a 10-minute sudden death overtime followed by the shootout, where each team would send 5 players out. They would take turns taking their shots on the opposing goalie. You tally them up, and if you end up tied after one shootout, you continue. So we'll see what happens. There's 4 seconds on the clock here. If not, it's on to 10-minute sudden death and then the shootout.
Sweden trailed going to the final 2 minutes, but they got the power play chance, and Magnus Svensson made it count, tying the game at 2. Nedved against Ernstog on the draw just inside the Canadian line with 4 seconds left on the clock. The puck is dropped, it's loose, fed back to the side of the net, and that will do it for the third period. What an exciting third period of hockey here. Sweden losing a 1-goal advantage as Paul Correa and then Derek Mayer scored for Canada. Sweden retying it with just a minute 49 to go on Svensson's power play goal, and now it will be sudden death for all the marbles, and this is just something else, Mike.
Ooh, as Corey Hirsch has been the guy, 36 saves already in this game. Canada mustering only 6 shots in the period, but the all-important 2 goals. So we're seeing overtime here, 2 different styles. Sweden suddenly, when they found themselves tied and then down, opened up their game. So we're seeing a North American style of hockey. We'll just see who plays it better now, Canada or Sweden.
Well, we will have a 15-minute intermission followed by that 10-minute sudden death, and while we wait for overtime.
Back at the International Broadcast Center, Ed Coleman, CBS Radio Sports, and I guess we haven't been in Norway long enough. Let's play sudden death. Gary Cohen and Mike Woodley over at the hockey rink.
Well, you know, Ed, it's only the last 2 Olympics that there has been a single elimination tournament in the medal round, and this thus is the first time a true gold medal game has ever moved into an overtime period, and you can only imagine the pressure that is weighing on the Swedes and the Canadians as they prepare to come out on this ice for overtime.
It'll be 10 minutes, sudden death, but followed by a shootout if it's not decided during that 10 minutes. We've seen a shootout 2 years ago in the quarterfinals as it was Canada taking on Germany, and one of the 5 players that then Canadian coach Dave King selected for a shootout is a current Canadian player, Wally Schreiber. We shall see. Hopefully it won't come down to that for those on a deadline to get back to the United States or wherever they may be traveling today.
Sweden had a 1-0 lead going to the third period. Paul Correa tied it at 9:08, his third of the tournament for Greg Johnson and Chris Kontos, and then at 11:43, Derek Mayer, his first of the tournament, gave Canada a 2-1 lead. Then, in the final 2 minutes, with Brad Warenka off for hooking, Magnus Svensson, a power play goal, his 4th of the tournament from Peter Forsberg and Thomas Janssen. At 18:11, that tied it. And so we are now in overtime. 10 minutes of sudden death for the gold medal. Sweden looking for their first gold medal ever. And Canada trying for their first since 1952. Canada won a gold medal the last time the Olympics were in Norway and trying to do it again here in Lillehammer.
We saw the emotion on the Canadian side when Derek Mayer scored and when Paul Correa scored. Now the Swedes, Gary Cohen, are not known for being as emotional as the North Americans, but not quite to the robot stage, but they were very jubilant after their goal by Svensson late in the period.
There is an enormous amount of pressure on the Tre Kroner, as they call the Swedish hockey team. They were expected to win this tournament. A lot of people in Sweden have been disappointed before. They were in 92, and they're hoping now that they will not be disappointing their fans in 1994.
Well, they've won world championships in 91 and 92, but never the Olympic gold, and the nation right now is rooting for this on this occasion in overtime.
Canada will skate from right to left. Corey Hirsch in the nets to our right. Sweden will skate from left to right with Tommy Salo in the nets to our left. Peter Forsberg against Greg Parks on the draw to start overtime. A 10-minute session. Sudden death, you win, and you get the gold. Rob Hearn, the American referee, drops the puck, and we're underway in overtime. Back at his own line, it's Mayer banging it up ahead, and Kenny Jansson has it back in the Swedish zone. Across to Thomas Jansson, carries to center. Jansson flips it into the Canadian zone. It ends up on the end boards, and Harlock has the puck there for Canada. Now Harlock starts back with the Canadians. Lead pass goes past Joseph. Forsberg intercepts, flips it into the Canadian zone, and Hirsch comes wide of the net to stop it for Derek Mayer. Mayer back behind his own net, starts out the near side, sends it out to center. It's knocked down with a stick, and Thomas Jansson has it back. Off to Patrick Uline, who flips it into the Canadian zone. Hirsch stops it behind the net, and back comes Canada. Todd Halushko pokes it out to center ice. Rudmark is on it there for Sweden. He's turned away by the check of Joseph. Joseph trying to get to it in the corner. Now Rudmark leaves it there, and Svensson will start back for Sweden. Up to Uline. Now Uline skating it out to the red line. Uline to the Canadian line with a drive, and it goes wide. Rebound comes to the near side. Poked deeper by Johansson. Now in the corner, Uline looking to center it. Can't do it, and Greg Johnson takes the puck away with a minute gone by in overtime. Out at center ice, left wing feed. Wawrinka goes off his stick, comes across the line. Now Wawrinka chasing near side, along with Rudmark. They battle along the near boards, trying to work it free. Wawrinka kicking at it. Rudmark trying to hold him back. It comes loose, and finally Johansson plays the puck for Sweden, and back come the Swedes to center ice. Johansson's stick handles across the line, goes wide with a shot. Save made by Hirsch, and he covers it up. Johansson with a soft shot from the top of the faceoff circle, and Hirsch made the save.
Careers are made in games like this, Gary. Players that are unknown or maybe with no National Hockey League future can make a name for themselves. We've all seen what Michael Ruzioni has done from his goal in the defeat of the Soviet Union back in 1980. Now, granted, it was a different time in the world, but right now what we're seeing is a team from Canada and a team from Sweden. Someone likely will end it over the next 8 minutes plus here, and we'll find out who that hero might be.
8:35 remaining in sudden death overtime. If it's still tied after that, we go to a shootout. Off the draw in the Canadian zone, Mayer winds it around behind his own net to Schlegel. Sends it near side to Roy, who pokes it out to center ice. Knocked right back the other way. Roy knocks it down. Now carrying it across the line is Jansson. Jürgen Jansson feeds it to Ernstog, who takes it deep. Ernstog now in the near corner, feeds it in front. It goes off Hirsch, rolls to the side of the net, comes out into the circle, but it's played by Canada, and Roy is able to get it out to center ice. Dangerous moment for Canada right there. Now into the zone comes Luby, loses, and Mayer has it for Canada. Circling in his own zone, sends it up to the line and out of the zone, and back at center ice it's loose, picked up by Håkan Lube. Lube will skim one in, left side of Hirsch, who stops it behind the net. Sweden makes a change, and Nedved starts back for Canada. Nedved out to center, lead pass too far for wide, goes all the way down, no icing called. Kenny Jansson will go back to play it. Jansson back in his own zone, bangs it off his own end boards for Thomas Jansson. Now Thomas steers it up the boards, trying to get it to Bergqvist, but it's kept in by Joseph. Hansen comes back though and gets it out to center. Harlock has it back across to Lubson, and he'll shoot it in. Left side of Salo, who lets it go by. Now falling down is Halushko as he battles for the puck. Bergqvist tries to poke it up the boards, but it's kept in by Joseph, taken off his stick along the near side by Peter Forsberg, and Forsberg starts back for Sweden. Now Forsberg comes to the red line. Forsberg flips one in, left side of Hirsch. It hits the dasher, winds up on the near side. Bergqvist in to try and get it. Now Hansen in the corner. Hansen has it poked off his stick. It winds up on the near side. Bergqvist goes down on top of the puck, and play is called with 7:04 remaining in overtime, and Canada and Sweden tied at 2. Let's pause 10 seconds for stations to identify themselves on the CBS Radio Network.
Hi, this is Ron Barr, host of Sports Byline USA. When I'm looking for news, talk, or sports, there's only one place to tune in Atlanta. That's WGUN 1010 News Talk Radio in Atlanta.
Our producer Bill O'Connell, the gold medal game in hockey. We We are in overtime, 2 minutes and 56 seconds into the 10-minute session. Canada and Sweden tied 2-2. Face-off coming up to the left of Corey Hirsch in the Canadian net. Daniel Rudmark will take the draw for Sweden. It'll be Greg Johnson going for Canada. Tension galore in this building right now. Off the draw, it's won by Johnson, and Mayer takes it behind his own net for Canada. Derek Mayer, the assistant captain, leaves it for Johnson, and back to Mayer. Now to Johnson, off his stick, and rolls to the Swedish zone, and Rudmark goes back to play it for Sweden. Bangs it off the end boards for Svensson. Now he shovels it up ahead for Naslund, and it rolls back out to center ice into the Canadian line, where Wawrinka is on it for Canada. Bangs it off the near boards for Kontos, but too far for him. It's loose along the near boards at center ice. Johansson loses. Correa carries into the zone, but it's poked off his stick by Rudmark. Now Naslund gets to it at center ice, and he circles back into his own zone. Back to Svensson with 6.5 minutes to go in overtime, and Svensson starts out. Svensson comes to the red line. He's across the Canadian line. Stick handling, puts on his left, carrying it deep now is Naslund. Runs into the board, goes down hard. Yulin has the puck, puts it behind the net, but it's intercepted, and back comes Wawrinka for Canada. Wawrinka carrying to center. Wawrinka stick handling across the Swedish line, carrying it deep. Wawrinka behind the net, winds it around to the far side. Nedved at the right point keeps in. Sends it down the boards, but it's intercepted there by Svensson, and Sweden will start back. Svensson stick handling on his right now across the line. It comes to Aaron Skog. He carries it deep, puts it in front off the side of the net. Knocked down by Hirsch. Now in the corner it's Lube. Lube battling for the puck. Overcome two Canadian players to try and work it free. Aaron Skog is there as well. Roy there for Canada. It finally comes free. Roy along the end boards, speeds it up the boards. Still in the zone. Kept in at the point by Rolene. Down to the corner for Aaron Skog. Roy pins him up against the boards. And we get a whistle as they combine to freeze it, and play is called with 5:29 to go in sudden death overtime, and Canada and Sweden tied 2-2.
2 shots by Sweden on Corey Hirsch, none yet on Tommy Salo, as Canada's still trying to find themselves here in the overtime. Nothing really working. You're seeing Sweden press. They're playing an entirely different game than what they did the first 2.5 periods tonight here. They are also now trying to press to the goal. They're taking some chances. You'll see Peter Forsberg taking the center here, trying to show some of the flash that makes him such a big star in the future in the NHL.
Face off to the left of Corey Hirsch in the Canadian net. Forsberg taking the draw against Greg Parks, and Parks gets thrown out of the face-off circle, and so Fabian Joseph, the Canadian captain, will take it instead. Joseph moving some players around now. Now the puck is dropped off the draw at the near side. Mayer falls down, but Bergqvist unable to get to it, and Parks, as it's wound around to the far side, gets it out to center ice. Here's Joseph having it go off his stick down into Swedish ice. Back to get it is Kenny Johnson. Winds around to the far side as Johnson is running too hard, and he goes down. Play to the side of the net. Salo gloves it down. Play is called, and Kenny Johnson lying in a heap down in the corner as he got run hard into the boards by a Canadian player, and they are calling for the medical people to come on and have a look at Kenny Johnson.
You hate to see that. Kenny Johnson's head was down near the board. The check looked like it was clean.
He's out.
Yeah, he got knocked and off his feet and thrown onto the ice. And
Todd Halushko made the check, and Kenny Johnson is out. His eyes are closed, and he is unconscious as he lies in the corner.
He's just a 19-year-old kid, 189 pounds, 6'3", kind of gangly as he's developing into a hockey player, and he just quite simply had his head down and was taken. He was cold-cocked from behind, and he's down in the ice.
Well, we remember a moment similar to this 2 years ago when Mats Naslund of Sweden checked Greg Brown into the boards. That was very early in a hockey game, and Brown suffered a concussion, a broken nose, had to be carted off. Now we're in a situation where the gold medal is on the line. We're in overtime, and Kenny Johnson, the young Swedish defenseman, gets smashed into the boards head first by Todd Halushko. Looks like a little bit of his shoulder might have hit the board along with his head, but it is clear that he is not in very good shape as he lies in the corner behind the Swedish net.
One difference between the play with Mats Naslund on Greg Brown 2 years ago and this one, Lushko did not leave his feet prior to the check, and that's where therein lies the penalty. That's something you cannot do.
Well,
in this case, Lushko just hit him. They both lost their feet, and Johnson came down hard.
The only way that you could call a penalty on that were if you were to call a charge, because otherwise there's nothing. He didn't board him. He didn't elbow him. He didn't high stick him. He just went in with his shoulder. Now, Johnson, he apparently has regained consciousness. He's up on his skates and being helped off by his teammates, but I'm sure that we have seen the last of Kenny Johnson for this hockey game, as he is very, very woozy and probably has little idea where he is right now. as he is being helped off on his skates, but barely up.
Sometimes you just cannot emphasize enough. It's the position of the player who's being hit. In this case, Kenny Janssen's head was down looking for the puck, and because of that, he was able to take the hard hit against the board.
So play will continue with 5:13 remaining in this 10-minute sudden death overtime. Canada and Sweden tied 2-2 as they battle for the gold medal. Face off in the Swedish zone. Marks loses it to Forsberg, who gets it back to Svensson. Svensson winds to the far side, and Hansen plays it off the boards to Bergqvist. Bergqvist turning in his own zone halfway through this overtime session. Now Bergqvist comes out the near side and carries it out of the zone. Bergqvist comes to the red line, stick handling as it poked off his stick by Parks, and back comes Mayer to play it for Canada in his own end. Mayer starts out 3-on-3, left wing feed for Joseph. He'll shoot one in, left side of Salo, pinching it is Hlushko as it poked off his stick by Svensson, and Forsberg plays it for Sweden. Now Peter Forsberg comes to the red line. He's to the Canadian line down left wing with a drive. It's deflected by Schlegel, rolls to the corner. Joseph comes back to play it as Forsberg goes down. It's poked out to center, and Svensson has it back with 4.5 minutes remaining in overtime. Now Thomas Janssen gets it away to Patrick Uline, who dumps it into the Canadian end. Schlegel winds it around the boards and winds up in the crowd. Play is called with 4:19 to go in sudden death. If we are still tied when this sudden death session has ended, each coach will make out a list of 5 skaters. Those 5 skaters from each team will take turns taking penalty shots on the opposing goalie, and whoever winds up with the most successful penalty shots will be the winner of the gold medal. But still 4:19 to go in this overtime period.
It's an interesting rule, too, as each coach does not have to submit those 5 names until after the game, so you can ride a hot player. It might even be a defenseman taking those shots in a shootout. So the coaches will be, I'm sure, not thinking about that until the latter moments of this 10-minute overtime sudden death.
Rudmark against Savage on the draw, and Savage gets thrown out, and so Dwayne Norris will have to take it instead. Stillman and Janssen waiting back at the points, and it's Naslund feeding it back to Stillman. Down the boards to Naslund. Naslund carries to the corner, poked off his stick. Uline over skates as he bumps with Norris. Norris takes the puck away, flips it ahead, but Rudmark intercepts. Rudmark controls far boards, taken away by Norris as Rudmark goes down, and Norris feeds it out of the zone. Now skating at center, it's Schlegel. 3-on-3 across the line. Schlegel stops near boards, feeds to the middle, goes off the stick of Roy, rolls to the near side, played behind the net. Correa has it there, comes behind the net. Correa feeds it in front, stick to side by Salo. It rolls to the near side, and Uline has it there with 3:45 to go in overtime. Now Uline sends it up ahead. It goes past Janssen. Rudmark down on the ice along with a Canadian player as play continues in the Swedish end. It's Savage and Rudmark going at it. It comes to the side of the Swedish net. Cleared aside by Janssen. He goes down again. No call. The Swedish fans up in arms, and it's flipped back to center ice. Now Wawrinka at the Canadian line sends it up ahead on right wing. Shot by Schreiber, blocked by a sliding Frederick Stillman. And back at the Canadian line, it's Derek Mayer. 3 minutes and 20 seconds to go in the sudden death overtime as Janssen plays it back in his own end. Away it goes to Svensson, and he carries it out to center. Magnus Svensson stick handling to the Canadian line. He moves into the circle, takes it deep. Now Svensson behind the net, run into by Wawrinka. Svensson at the far side, and finally Schreiber has the puck and clears it out of the zone. Knocked back in by Jürgen Janssen. It's an offside against Sweden with 2:57 remaining in sudden death. We remain tied, Canada 2 and Sweden 2.
We're seeing a little more clutching, grabbing, a little more stick work, a little more rough stuff, and with Rob Hearn being the American referee, there's the ongoing thought in America and North America that in an overtime, a referee would like to not make the call that decides the game. That's the way Rob Hearn is calling it here. Other European officials working these Olympic Games might have called this overtime differently.
It'll be Ehrenskog on the draw against Nedved. Canada played overtime in the quarterfinals against the Czechs and won it on a goal by Paul Correa on a power play. Something we might not see here from that American referee. Nedved wins the draw back to Loveson. Gets it across to Harlock and back the other way to Loveson, and he starts out. Loveson carries it to center, goes around one man, pokes it ahead, knocks into the slot area, but nobody there except Ehrenskog for Sweden, and he sends it back up to Svensson. Svensson stick handling in his own line. Svensson trying to get away from Wabbit. It's taken away by Schreiber. Sends far side. Nedved across the line, can't reach it, and Ehrenskog sends it back to center. Taken right back by Loveson. He pokes it into the Swedish zone with 2.5 minutes to go in overtime. Now it's Ehrenskog behind his own net, circling away from one man, gives it back to Jürgen Janssen. Jürgen Janssen standing behind his own goal, 2:20 to go in overtime as Janssen starts out. Jürgen Janssen comes to the red line, and he shoots one in, left side of Hirsch, and winds to the far side. Now Kontos is on it there. He shovels it back out to center ice. Thomas Janssen on it there for Sweden. Janssen back skating, bangs it off the far boards out to center. Lead pass across the line. Bergqvist drop pass, but nobody there. It's Contos, and back comes Canada 2-on-2. Korea across the line. Korea winds and fires, and it's blocked to the defense. Comes back under the stick of Hansen. Now it's chopped back into the zone by Contos, but it rolls out to center ice. Contos sends it back in. The late offside not called as it cleared back out. Here comes Korea in 3-on-3. Korea left wing feed. Contos for a drive stick saved by Salo. Janssen winds it to the far side. It's kept in by Mayer with 1:40 to go. Mayer puts it in front. It's knocked down at the defense and cleared out to center ice. Now here comes Forsberg in one-on-one. Forsberg into the slot. Forsberg goes down, and a scramble in front of the net. The goalie goes down in a heap, and here comes Korea back the other way. Korea across the line with a drive. It goes wide. Pops out to center ice and rolls all the way back into the Canadian zone. And Hirsch comes out to play with 1:20 to go. Hirsch winds to the near side, and he comes out to center ice. Johansson plays it there, and he skims it back in with 1:10 to go in overtime. Now Halushko back to get it for Canada. Halushko starts out. Sends it away far side. Mayer now out to Johnson. Johnson comes to the Swedish line. A shot goes wide. Comes to the near side. Halushko plays it there. Run into by Rudmark with under 1 minute to go in overtime. Fabian Joseph fighting for the puck in the corner. Johansson works it free to Naslund. Naslund in the Swedish zone. Run into along the near boards as Joseph comes over. They combine to freeze it, and play is called with 47 seconds. And now some pushing and shoving ongoing. Daniel Rudmark coming over and getting a glove up in the face of Todd Halushko. Remember, it was Halushko who put the check on Kenny Janssen that knocked Kenny Janssen out of the game.
And you see Mats Naslund come over to Daniel Rudmark and give him a little shove and a couple of words. Keep your cool. This is not a time to take a blatant call. That is one penalty that Rob Hearn will give out right now. If somebody after the play, retaliation, or anything that's obvious away from the play, he will call that if it's after the whistle. Other than that, I got a feeling you're going to see a lot of rough stuff let go by Rob Hearn in this overtime session.
Just 47 seconds to go in sudden death. If we're still tied when it's over, we will go to a shootout. Both teams taking their time changing, and now Rob Hearn saying, that's enough. Let's decide who's going to be on. Canada is the designated home team, and so Hearn waves off Peter Forsberg as Kurt Lundmark tried to make the last change, but Canada, as the home team, has that privilege of making the last change.
Paul Correa has been a money guy for this team, and he just had 2 opportunities in the last minute to put Canada on top and give them the victory, and he's on the ice again right now.
Face off outside the Swedish line. Erskog against Johnson. Erskog wins the draw, and he gets it back to Janssen. Sends it across to Svensson. Bangs it off the far boards, and here comes Jürgen Janssen across the line. Lead for Lube. Lube into the slot with a shot. It's blocked at the defense. Rolls near corner with 35 seconds to go. Wawrinka and Jürgen Janssen battling for it in the corner. They continue to kick at it. Lube comes over as well. Lube trying to work it free. He falls on top of it. Gets up again. 25 seconds to go. Lube kicking at it, trying to get it away from Greg Johnson. Still in the corner, and finally Hearn blows the whistle with 21 seconds remaining in overtime. And the faceoff will come up in the Canadian end to the left of Corey Hirsch.
Through this 9 minutes plus of sudden death overtime, 2 shots for the Canadians and Tommy Salo, 3 shots for the Swedes against Corey Hirsch. So it's been a rather defensive-minded 9+ minutes of overtime, sudden death. And if it stays this way, we'll go on to the shootout, where 5 players from each side will take their turns at the opposing goalie.
Now Tom Rennie makes a change. He wants a defensive line on now with the face-off in his own zone, so he sends Greg Parks out with Todd Halushko and Fabian Joseph. It'll be Parks against Erskog on the draw. It's loose in the face-off circle and taken by Mayer behind his own net with 18 seconds to go. Up ahead to Parks out of the zone. He shovels it ahead on right wing off the stick of Halushko. Goes into the zone. Forsberg has it there. Sends ahead but not out. Mayer keeps it into the circle. Pokes off his stick. It bounces to center with 6 seconds to go. Wawrinka back at his own line. Sends it up ahead. Knocked down by Svensson. 1 second. Takes the long shot. Saved by Hirsch as overtime runs out. And we are going to a shootout for the gold medal. Well, this has never happened before in Olympic play. 2 years ago, there was a quarterfinal game between Canada and Germany that went to a shootout, and the Canadians won that one in dramatic fashion. They each had their 5 skaters. They were still tied. They went to a 6th skater, and Eric Lindros scored for Canada. The Germans then came back, and their shot trickled by Sean Burke and landed on the goal line as the game came to an end, and Canada came away with that victory and ended up with the silver medal when they lost to the unified team.
You don't see it very often. We saw it one time in this Olympic tournament involving a consolation game between Austria and France, a game that France went on to win in the shootout to advance in the consolation bracket, but it's a rarity. It will settle this game, however, and we'll see 5 players. And now we're seeing the coaches. Kurt Lundmark of Sweden submitting his 5 players of choice. Tom Rennie also doing that right now, writing down those names of the 5 players.
And there's so much gamesmanship involved here. Do you put your best guy first and try and grab a lead? Do you put your best guy last when you might have already been knocked out? Surmountable lead. Among these 5 shooters, it's over. If you score your first 3 and the other team misses their first 3, that's it. There's no more shots after that.
And if you're Tom Rennie, what do you do with Wally Schreiber? He 2 years ago participated in the shootout for Team Canada against Germany. As far as we can recall, he did not have success, but he has been there before. You put him out there even though he might not be one of your 5 best players in a goal-scoring situation like this?
Lundmark has just given his list to Rob Hearn, and now Hearn, the referee, goes over to talk to the Canadian coach Tom Rennie. Rennie is still working with the pen and paper to try and put this list together.
Look down
like it'll be Lube, Svensson, Naslund, Forsberg, and Hansen going for Sweden. We can see the list on our monitor. Lube, Svensson, Naslund, Forsberg, and Hansen will be the 5 for Sweden. Who will be the 5 for Canada? They will go one at a time. 1 for one team and 1 for the other team.
Here we go.
Penalty
shot.
The monitor here. Nedved will go first. Picking this up off our monitor as it's being written down. Korea will be second. So he's going with his big guns first. Is Tom Rennie for Canada. Norris will go third.
Parks, it looks like, will go 4th.
And I did not see the 5th. But you would have to figure it would be a Greg Johnson or a Chris Kontos at that point. If you're not familiar with penalty shots, the puck starts at the red line. The goalie must stay in his crease until the puck is touched. The player must go forward and not backwards. Once you move forward, you must continue to move forward toward the net. And you get 1 shot, and once it's saved or goes wide, it is over, and we move on to the next shot. Now the captains, Paul Kariya and Charles Berglund, being called over to the near side, and they will flip a coin to determine which team goes first. Whoever wins the toss gets the choice of going first or last.
And it would be best for most teams, I would think, to go last. If you know what you have to do, if your players are pressure players, you might want to know if you have to make that choice.
It appears that the Canadians won the toss, and I guess they've elected to receive.
Not a bad choice on their part. It's always nice to know what you have to do. I think players want to know the score going into the situation, and that's what it looks like Canada has opted to do.
Well, it looks like Sweden will go first. In that case, it would be Håkan Lube starting it out. Lube, the veteran. He has won a Stanley Cup. He has won a World Championship. He wants to win a gold medal. Corey Hirsch coming off the Canadian bench. Hirsch has been outstanding all throughout this tournament. He has stopped 40 shots tonight out of 42 taken by Sweden.
You wonder if he's a bit tired. He's played 7 games now, and this is his 8th. How is he doing? Is he holding up to the strength? And is he tired facing 40 shots? On the other hand, Tommy Salo has faced 19 shots tonight, and he has not played each and every one of Sweden's games. So if strength or endurance or fatigue were to play a factor, you'd have to root for the Swedes.
And Canada has decided to go first. It appeared they won the toss, but they're going to go first. Peter Nedved will take the first shot. He'll be skating from left to right. Tommy Salo is ready to go in the net to our right. Rob Hearn asks the goalie if he's ready. He says yes. He blows the whistle, and Nedved, starting out from his own zone, approaches the puck. Here comes Nedved. He picks it up at center. Comes across the blue line. In comes Nedved. He shoots. He scores! So Peter Nedved gives Canada a 1-0 lead in the shootout. He kept it on the forehand and scooped it by Tommy Salo.
Nedved just went high, and he went on the stick side and able to put it past Tommy Salo, who's now headed over to the Sweden bench to get a drink of water. Nedved just showed really no special move here. Just came in on the forehand, actually came to the glove side of Salo and put it through for the goal.
Nedved shakes his fist at Hirsch, says, now it's your turn, and Håkan Lube will take the first shot for Sweden. Each team gets 5 shots until one gets an insurmountable lead within that 5-shot window. Now the referee Hearn talking to Hirsch, making sure he knows the rules. Can't come out of the crease till the puck is touched. Here comes Lube. Lube across the blue line. Out comes Hirsch. Lube moves in. He takes the forehand. Save made by Hirsch. Hirsch was looking behind him, but he made the save. Lube it on the forehand, and Canada finishes the first round with a 1-0 lead.
Corey Hirsch came out and he threw Hulk and Lube off just a bit, and then Hirsch retreated back to his net. Lube came in on the forehand, tried to just slide it through the 5-hole, as they call it, between the pads, and Hirsch was there to stop it.
All Korea is next, skating from left to right. Canada with a 1-0 lead in the shootout for a gold medal. Salo back in his net waiting. Korea circling in his own end, playing the cat and mouse game. Now Korea flexes his arms. Hearn blows the whistle. Here comes Korea. He's across the blue line. Here comes Korea. Straight down the middle. Takes the shot. Scores! Again, he kept it on the forehand, as did Nedved before him, and now Canada has a 2-0 lead in the shootout.
I think they've read the book on Tommy Salo. You keep it glove side high, and that's what both Nedved and now Korea have done. He just came in on his forehand, took his time, went high and up and good.
A huge amount of pressure now on the shoulders of Magnus Svensson. He had the tying goal for Sweden in this game, the power play goal with 1:49 to go in regulation, and now with Sweden already down by 2 in the shootout, he can ill afford not to put it past Corey Hirsch here. It would be very tough for Sweden to win if Svensson does not get the job done. He's circling in his own end, building up speed. He picks up the puck, comes across the blue line, skates wide, back into the slot, moves in with a forehand, scores! Magnus Svensson for Sweden. He took a little bit of a circle route, put it on the forehand, and put it up high on Corey Hirsch. It's now 2-1 Canada after 2 rounds.
Svensson came in, then gave the deke to the backhand, back to the forehand, and as he approached the goal line, able to go upper shelf and good for Sweden, who now gets the goal. Hirsch came way out to try and intimidate Svensson, but it didn't work for him.
And now it'll be Dwayne Norris from Newfoundland. Canada with a 2-1 lead in the shootout as we enter the 3rd round. Salo sets up on the net to our right. Norris circling, waiting for the indication from the referee, Rob Hearn, who blows the whistle, and here comes Norris. Norris picks it up at the red line, comes across the blue line, right down the slot, goes to the backhand, save made by Salo. Unlike his 2 predecessors, Norris decided to go backhand, and he slid it into the pads of Salo, and now Sweden has a chance to tie it up.
Norris had an opportunity, too, if he could have just drew the puck back a little bit further and got some elevation on it, but instead went right to the stick of Tommy Salo, had the blocker outstretched. Norris just couldn't quite get it up.
Now Corey Hirsch set up in the net to our left. It'll be Matt Naslund skating from right to left, a 34-year-old veteran, 8 years with the Montreal Canadiens, a Stanley Cup to his credit. In his 3rd Olympics, Naslund will look to get things even now for Sweden. Here comes Naslund, approaches the puck, picks it up at center, comes across the blue line, right down the middle, goes to the backhand, and a save made by Hirsch. And Canada retains the lead. Naslund tried the backhander, and after 3 rounds, Canada keeps a 2-1 lead.
Matt Naslund's disappointed in that one. He went to the backhand, and he quite simply fanned on it. He barely got anything on it at all as he went to the backhand, tried to lift it up. The puck got up on edge, and it just rolled meekly to the end board away from the net.
If Greg Parks can get this one in for Canada, it would put all the pressure on the youngster Peter Forsberg, who would have to get it in to keep it alive. So Parks looking to give Canada a 3-1 lead. We start the 4th round. 2-1 in front. Parks circling. Hearn blows the whistle. Now Parks starts out. He picks up the puck at the red line. He comes across the blue line. Stick handling in with a forehand save made by Salo. Parks stick handled, took his time and put it in the pads of Salo, and now it remains 2-1 Canada, and Forsberg gets the opportunity to tie it up.
Greg Parks looks like he had a little indecision there. He thought going upper, then he tried to go lower shelf on Tommy Salo, and it just went right into the pad, and not good for Greg Parks or Canada.
Now Peter Forsberg, they call him Peter the Great. He's only 20 years old. He's already a millionaire, signing a 4-year deal with the Quebec Nordiques. He can let his legend grow here if he can tie things up for Sweden and send it to the 5th and final round even. Otherwise, all the pressure would be on Roger Hansen of Sweden. Now, here comes Forsberg. He approaches the puck going from right to left, picks it up at the red line, goes wide at the blue line, moves into the slot, goes in with a backhander, he scores! Forsberg has tied it for Sweden! A gorgeous move out of the backhand, and he split it under Corey Hirsch, and we are even at 2-2 going to the final shot.
Oh, this young man with a great move. Peter Forsberg comes in with a deceiving speed. Was on his backhand, over to his forehand, came back to the backhand against Corey Hirsch, and able to tuck it right between his pads and into the net. Forsberg has done his job for Sweden.
It's now down to Greg Johnson and Roger Hansen. Johnson will go first. Dakota, 22 years of age. He's ready to go, and he approaches the puck. Here comes Johnson. He's across the blue line. Johnson stick handling. In with a forehand. Save made by Salo. And now Sweden has a chance to win it. Salo, after giving up the first two to Nedved in Korea, has stopped Norris, Clarkson, Johnson, and now Roger Hansen has a chance to win a gold medal for Sweden if he can beat Corey Hirsch. Hansen with 5 goals in the tournament, 26 years of age. A draftee in the Vancouver Canucks, but has never played in North America. Roger Hansen one-on-one with Corey Hirsch, and if he buries it, Sweden will win their first ever gold medal. You think there's a little pressure on this guy's shoulders right now? Hirsch back in his net, setting up. Rob Hearn, the referee, blows the whistle. Here comes Hansen, skating from right to left. Hansen picks it up on the red line, comes across the blue line, moves in, stick handles, goes to the forehand, save made by Hirsch, and we will continue on. Oh my goodness, we're going to an overtime in the shootout. Corey Hirsch comes up big and stops Roger Hansen, and now the two coaches will again make a list of 5 players, but the rules are different now. Now it is simply sudden death, or so to speak. Each team will get 1 shooter. If you make it and the other guy doesn't, it's over.
And it'll be interesting to see how the coaches look at this now, and I'm sure you would go with the players who had the success. There's no reason not to put out Nedved in Korea 1-2 here in this second round. That's what you do for Canada, and obviously if you're Kurt Lundmark, you throw out Magnus Svensson, Peter Forsberg, because you want to see this goal get over as soon as you can. There's no sense in holding back at this point.
Also, you may not get past that first shooter right now, because if your guy misses and the other guy makes it, it is over. That's Naslund trying to kibitz a little with his coach, Kurt Lundmark. Lundmark making a list, and obviously Naslund not agreeing with whatever Lundmark is writing down.
That's Naslund fanned on his opportunity, went to the backhand. He didn't get a good shot off. He's probably saying, hey, coach, really, I got a goal in me.
Well, Nedved and Korea have scored for Canada. Svensson and Forsberg for Sweden. Each team missed their last shot. Greg Johnson and Roger Hansen each had a chance to win the gold medal for their team, but it was Salo and Hirsch, the goaltenders, who came up big. Salo and Hirsch both getting a well-earned breather right now as we await overtime in the shootout. Let's pause 10 seconds for stations to identify themselves on the CBS Radio Network.
One place to tune in Atlanta. That's WGUN 1010 News Talk Radio in Atlanta.
Canada and Sweden finished regulation tied at 2-2, played scoreless through 10 minutes of overtime. They have gone to a shootout after 5 shooters each. We remain tied 2-2 in the shootout, and now we move on to overtime in the shootout. Pretty much, it's next unanswered goal wins.
Interesting to see how Canada got away from what worked in the first 2 rounds when Nedved and Korea scored going upper glove side on Salo. After that, the Canadian players were doing other things, trying to score in other areas of the net.
We're watching Rob Hearn write down the names for Sweden. Svensson will go first, then Forsberg, then Thomas Jansson, who did not go in the first round, then Jonas Bergqvist, who also did not go in the first round, and then Patrick Uline, who also did not go in the first round. So the only 2 who he's keeping out there from the first round are the 2 who made it. That would be Svensson and Forsberg.
And Forsberg, who had the big goal for them, the young man, the 20-year-old, we'll see how they work out now. We haven't seen the Canadian list as of yet. We'll try and give it to you if we can spot it on our monitor.
This is just remarkable. Sweden has never won a gold medal in hockey. Canada will last won a gold medal in 1952. Last time the Olympics were... That was in Oslo. Now Rob Hearn, American referee, over at the Canadian bench, and getting the list from Tom Rennie. We are not able to see that list at this time. We know that Svensson will be going first for Sweden. We do not yet know who will be going first for Canada. It becomes much more critical now to get your successful shooters up on top of the list, because if you miss one and the other guy makes it, it's over. Well, we were unable to see the list for Canada. We will just have to wait and see who pops out to go first.
I don't think there's any question. We'll see Nedved in Korea. After that, it's up to Tom Rennie if he wants to bring in some new names. It was interesting to see Kurt Lundmark, the coach from Sweden, bringing in new players in the shootout.
Just got first last time, right?
Only bringing back the two guys that scored, Forsberg and Svensson.
Canada went first in the opening round in the 5-player shootout. This time Sweden will go first. That's how the rules work. And so Corey Hirsch will set up in the goal to our left. And Magnus Svensson gets ready to take the shot for Sweden. Takes off one of his gloves and pulls at his arm pad. Wants to make sure everything is in place. Rob Hearn, the referee, gives the signal. And now Magnus Svensson will approach the puck going from right to left. Didn't hear Hearn. Now he has. And Svensson ready to go. Here comes Svensson. Picks it up at the red line. Comes across the blue line. Svensson goes in. Goes to the forehand. Goes wide. Svensson tried to steer it with the forehand, and he shot it wide. And now Canada with a chance to win it.
Svensson, as he went back to the forehand, saw the puck dribble off the end of his stick. He wasn't able to tuck it back on Corey Hirsch, and Hirsch fortunate here in the second round of the shootout.
And now Peter Nedved will get a chance to win a gold medal for Canada. If Nedved, who scored in the first round of the shootout, can score here against Tommy Salo, Canada will have a gold medal. Nedved, the Czechoslovakian defector, circling in his own end and waiting for the indication from Rob Hearn. We are in sudden death in the shootout. Lots of pressure on Tommy Salo, the Swedish netminder. Nedved continues to circle, gets the indication, and here comes Nedved going from left to right. Picks it up in the red line, across the blue line. Stick handles in. Nedved, backhander, wide! So each team has missed on the first overtime shot, and so we will continue on. Peter Forsberg will be up next for Sweden, and Corey Hirsch off the Canadian bench to go back into the goal.
This time Nedved, who scored on the forehand, went to the backhand, and it looks like he had room. And again, just like Svensson for Sweden, who was on previous to him, he just lost control of it and couldn't tuck it in.
Now Peter Forsberg, who was able to bury it as the fourth Swedish shooter with a lot of pressure on him. Sweden was behind 2-1 in the shootout the last time. Now he has a chance to score and put the pressure on Canada. We do not know yet who the next shooter for Canada will be, but here comes Forsberg going right to left. Forsberg picks it up at the red line. Backhands over the blue line. Moves into the slot. Goes in with a backhander. Save with a glove! No, he scored! He scored! He got it past the glove of Corey Hirsch, and Sweden takes the lead. Forsberg able to get it under the glove of Corey Hirsch, and Sweden has gone in front.
How did he do this? He changed speeds. He made his move from the forehand to the backhand, back to the forehand, on the forehand. Hirsch had his glove on it, but somehow it got through. Just enough force to get through Corey Hirsch, and Forsberg scores the goal.
So here is Paul Correa. He must score or Sweden will win the gold medal. Salo set up in the net to our right. Correa was able to score on the forehand against Salo in the first round. We are up to the 7th shooter. Paul Correa, Hobie Baker winner, best college player as a freshman at the University of Maine as he led them to a national title. Correa circling, gets the signal from Rob Hearn, the referee, and here comes Correa going left to right. Correa picks it up the red line, comes across the blue line. Correa moves in, forehand, save made! Sweden wins the gold medal! Tommy Salo with the save on Paul Correa! They're off the bench and mobbing Tommy Salo! For the first time in history, Sweden has won the gold! And the tricorner, the 3 crowns are golden in Lillehammer! They are mobbing Tommy Salo, the Swedish goalie, who stopped Paul Correa! And after years of frustration, Sweden has won the gold medal in hockey. Forsberg got the winning goal, Salo the winning save on Correa, and after 2 shots of overtime in the shootout, Sweden has won the gold. A magnificent game, a magnificent finish. Like Woodley, you just can't ask for anything more, and they are thrilled in Stockholm and throughout the country. Swedish flags waving throughout the stands here. Peter Forsberg kicks the helmet up into the air in celebration, and they are about as happy and about as emotional as those supposedly unemotional Swedes can be.
Throwing gloves into the crowd, looking around, grabbing each other, holding each other. This is what they've been trying to accomplish for so many years in Sweden. On the other hand, we're looking at the Canadian bench, and the players are just hanging their heads, looking down, wondering what might have been. It's been a great effort by the Canadians as well to get to this game, to be in a situation to win in a shootout. Only Tommy Salo coming up big against Paul Correa is allowing the Greg Kroner, as they're known in Sweden, to finally celebrate their very first Olympic gold.
The carpet is being rolled out. They'll be having the medal ceremonies here shortly. Sweden continues to celebrate. They're throwing helmets and sticks and all sorts of equipment up into the stands. Dejection on the Canadian bench, but they have little to be ashamed of. A magnificent run for Canada in a year they were not supposed to get this far. Forsberg gets credit for the winning goal. Sweden is the gold medal winner. That's the end of the game with the final score. Sweden